Mamdani. He goes, hey, rent's up almost 100% over the last 6 years, which is incredible since it already had expensive rent. And he goes, all right, well, we should do a rent freeze for the rent control and the rent stabilization, and then finance the building of this many units, which will be slums, obviously, and then try to encourage private sector to build a bunch of stuff too, increase volume, lower the cost. So you hear stuff like that, and you go, all right, not what I'd prescribe. Javier Milei has shown in Argentina what to do about those prices. He got rid of rent control, and all of a sudden, supply went up, prices crashed, everybody's finding places to live, people are making money, landlords are happy because they don't have to have weird rules about how they can rent their stuff. People are happy because the prices on their housing is affordable. It happened quickly. So obviously, the correct solution to this problem is to follow things that Milei has done. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I'm Congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me, as always...
What's up, Planet Earth? I'm Bean.
I've actually gotten promoted to King Frank. Yeah. I don't know why, but that's what I tell children my name is.
Maybe your crown will arrive soon.
Yeah. If I ordered one. Man, I'm waiting on my costume. Happy Halloween, everybody. This is probably coming out on Halloween or the day after. But my costume, I ordered it 2 weeks ago. Being like, man, I'm ahead of the curve. I'm not waiting till the last minute. And then it was supposed to come on Monday, and it's like, it's not here. I looked on the updates on FedEx, and they're like, we received a label. I'm like, oh, good. And so I just ordered a replacement one that'll be here hopefully tomorrow. It's in Ocala, so it's close for my Jafar costume. And I can finally trim my beard. All right. Jafar is actually an interesting segue for this one. I want to start off by talking about, we talked about Mamdani last week about, who really...
Did not know you were transitioning into Mamdani.
Inshallah, it'd be okay.
Almost spit up everywhere.
But we talked about, who cares about the nationalizing of the New York mayoral race. And I get, we can talk about the importance, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But we don't live in New York. We don't live in Manhattan. We don't even live in the Northeast. We live in the state that, unfortunately, a lot of those people run to. If they go further south than Nashville. Sometimes they half back to Nashville anyway. But I listened to Mamdani on the Flagrant podcast with Andrew Schultz and Akash Singh. And so I got, hearing him in his own words, long form podcast, while there's, people saying jokes and saying horrible things constantly and just breaking balls and all that kind of stuff, which makes it fun because you also get to see how people respond to that. Like Trump did well with that group, and that's one reason everybody blamed Flagrant and Rogan and what's his face for the election. What's it to do? Theo Von. Those guys apparently are the only reason Trump won, as opposed to running a dead guy followed by an idiot alcoholic. She just seems to like her Chardonnay. Anyway, so listen to Mamdani on there. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a very left-wing fellow. There's a lot of things that he wants to do that I think are stupid. But he's probably not even able to do as mayor. A government-owned grocery store, that won't work. Some of the things that he says, you have to stop and think about it from the perspective of status quo Manhattan or New York City. So when he goes, so during COVID, they did a rent freeze, right? And I am opposed to that. But they do it. And they've got rent control. They got rent. They got another rent stabilization where they dictate the price at which rent can increase each year, the percentage. Yeah. And so they already have these things in place, right? It's already this kind of micro-managed, centralized system. So when he goes, hey, rents up almost 100% over the last 6 years, which is incredible since it already had expensive rent. And he goes, all right, well, we should do a rent freeze for the rent control and the rent stabilization, and then, finance the building of this many units, which will be slums, obviously, and then try to encourage the private sector to build a bunch of stuff too, increase volume, lower the cost. So you hear stuff like that, and you go, all right, not what I'd prescribe. In fact, Javier Milei has shown in Argentina what to do about those prices. He got rid of rent control and almost immediately, and he got rid of the restrictions on Airbnbs. And all of a sudden, supply went up, prices crashed. Everybody's finding places to live. People are making money. Landlords are happy because they don't have to have weird rules about how they can rent their stuff. People are happy because the prices on their housing is affordable. Quickly, it happened quickly. So obviously, the correct solution to this problem is to, what Milei did for the country of Argentina. Don't get me wrong, New York City's got a lot of people in there. I don't even know how many people are in Argentina. Maybe there's more. No, there couldn't be more than in New York City with Buenos Aires. Nah, there couldn't be. Anyway, but either way, work for the whole country. They've got a couple big population centers there, so it's not like it's Iowa or something like that. Or even Portugal, when you talk about the drug issues and stuff like that, you go, well, Portugal, it's tiny, So anyway, but hearing some of his stuff, at the same time he talks about some of these government programs, he talks about all the waste and corruption, and he starts sounding a lot like Doge on stuff, where he goes there's a lot of these shady deals with just who type thing. So they're paying some company, I think he said $10 million to design a trash can. And he goes, we'll just cancel that contract and we'll just do our own trash can. And you go, why don't you just buy them from whatever the manufacturer, flip the trash can at Home Depot upside down and go, that's who makes them. I'll just give them a call and say, hey, I need some trash cans, or whatever. But he was talking about that. He was talking about how he wants to get rid of some licensing requirements. He said that he doesn't like all the licensing requirements for to start up a barber shop or to sell dessert if you already have a restaurant. Apparently there's a different fee for selling desserts or something. It's only $25 or whatever, but it's you got a restaurant. He's like, oh, you want to sell dessert too? There's another fee for that. It's all classic New York crap. So on the one hand, he's got lots of, lefty ideas. And then but he starts talking about going, okay, well, I want to tackle the corruption over on this side, or in the kind of insider good old boys club. You go, all right, well, that might not be the worst thing in the world. And I don't know, he's been painted as, I don't know what his Islamicism thoughts are, but he's been painted as an Islamist. And he's an Indian dude from Uganda, he's an Indian heritage family, grew up in Uganda, kind of split time between India and America growing up. But he is Muslim. And I think, where he gets the most heat is when he's used the term globalize the Intifada, But then you look up the Intifada, and people jump all over me about this. I'm not defending anything. Israel has a right to exist. I'm not defending October 7th or anything like that. But because I've heard this. I was I don't know, something about killing Jews, I think. And it's oh, actually, it's pretty much the opposition of what's happening in Gaza. Not the new stuff that happened in Gaza, but just the sort of separate but not equal state without a state thing that a lot of Islamic countries and people have been upset over for as long as it's been going on, whatever, 60 years or whatever it's been. And so if you're talking about bringing an international focus on the problem that had not yet existed, you go, it's not the craziest thing. now you can look at how some people believe the Intifada, or at least the opposition to this Israeli Gaza situation, and some of them, river to the sea, kill them all. You go, okay, well, that's not good. That's not going to work. But either way, so this guy's like 31 or something, 34. He's young. He's a young guy. And go ahead.
I was just curious. Like, I'm hearing you say, on one hand, he supports doing this, which is canceling a bunch of bureaucratic BS.
Yeah.
Is he wanting to do that to pay for his very left socialist ideas?
Charlie. Socialists never have to have a plan to pay for their ideas.
Just thought maybe he was a smart socialist.
They don't have to have a plan. Well, like some of the stuff, like for the housing, he's talked about selling municipal bonds for, which is something. But, the ultimate plan is debt. That's the plan. But that's kind of the New York way, too, where it's like, I think if he was to come down and want to be the governor of Florida, I'd be like, well, this is going to be a disaster. We can't let this happen. But when you go, okay, New York City, which is already, central authority, corruption, government, just, bleh. It's at least something different. And I'm not saying I hope he's probably going to win is the thing. He's probably going to win. But when you compare it to people talking about Andrew Cuomo being the great hope, because Curtis Silva or Sleep, whatever his name is, with the beret, he's got the beret, but he's not the commie, so it's confusing. But he ain't gonna win, right? He's just not gonna win. I think he's polling the highest he ever has, and he's at like 17%. So he's not gonna win. Cuomo's closing the gap. You're getting the big money people. You get the Republicans. Mamdani made a joke about one of the supporters of Cuomo, or at least one of the opposition people to him, who's this billionaire. Mamdani wants to raise taxes on the top 1% by 2 percentage points, right? And so he jokes that the amount of money that this one guy, I forget who it is, but the amount of money he has spent on attack ads and standing up to Mamdani, he's like, that's more than the extra 2 percentage points would cost in taxes. He's like, it's silly, which is pretty funny to think about. You go, it points out some of the absurdity to the game that is politic. You guys going to wreck the city with taxes. It's like, I'm going to spend 8 times that to not pay that. But Cuomo, he was governor for like a decade. I think a little over a decade. He was an attorney general for another decade, maybe longer than that. Like, he's been upper echelon New York power for 20 plus years. And what did he do? I mean, he rode daddy's coattails to get the job, of course. And, he ended up killing a bunch of elderly people during COVID. And then he liked to kind of like grab up. I'm Italian. Sometimes you just got to little tongue action. It's an Italian thing. And although he's kind of right there, still doesn't mean you can do it. But like, this is the great hope. And I just can't help but think like all these people that are making this point, I should say, I understand moderate Democrats making this point. I can understand left-leaning independents saying Cuomo might be better. I can get that. They're afraid of big changes that he makes. But like right-leaning people, Republican-type people, with them going, Cuomo's a better fit. It's like, this guy is like the definition of a swamp creature. He's just Albany swamp, not DC swamp. And it's like, he's going to do, he'll nibble a little left here, he'll nibble a little left there, but he might be there for 30 years. Like, I don't know how, do mayors have limits? The governor doesn't seem to have limits. I think it's 2 terms for mayor. I don't know why it's not for the governor, but whatever. Anyway, he's going to be there for a long time, and he's going to be a turd. He's going to give, shady deals. He knows all the connected people. He's like, he knows all the people. So like Cuomo's not going to be a savior for New York City. Like all these people are going to be watching Fox News on, I guess on Tuesday coming up. Probably, I'd imagine that's when the election is. And if Cuomo wins, people are going to go, whew, or if Mamdani wins, they're going to be like, here we go. But it's like I don't know, to say that this rat that has been suckling on the government teat and like just being corrupt as all hell killed the elderly, killed so many elderly. I think the phrase that Curtis Silva used in the last debate was killing grannies and grabbing fannies.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. But yeah, to think that guy is going to be a savior for New York City and by extension the country, and that if he doesn't win and Mamdani wins, that somehow like everything's sinking. Like we talked about, it's New York City. I get it; it's a big deal. It's a big commerce center and all that. It's the market that is New York City, the finance, all that stuff. It's so much bigger than a mayor. You know, if he had the ability to actually sink the economy through being a mayor. I mean, de Blasio was there. De Blasio didn't ruin the nation. Now he helped New York City get back into a little bit seedier, a little grosser. Matt's uncle, the John Holmstrom, the artist of many Ramones covers, he always missed Times Square being, you know, hookers and porn shops in the 1970s, sort of Times Square, just grit, you know. So he was kind of enjoying the city being run down back into crime and grit, and some other. He was not alone in that. So all that to say, I guess one of the reasons I bring this up is because I sat down and listened to him, knowing that he is very left wing. I mean, AOC Bernie, you know, he's a socialist. And I don't know if he said anything about Israel besides that when they go, when you're elected mayor, who's going to go visit Israel? Everyone's like, yeah. And Mamdani's like, I'm going to be in New York because I'm going to be mayor of New York. And, you know, some people made beef out of that, but, you know, that should be the answer. Or you could say, if there's a reason that we need to send a delegation to this foreign nation for something that helps the city, I'll review it at that time. But at this point, I don't see a purpose, you know? And that's, you know, if you're the president, you know, I'm going to go to all the countries probably, or most of them. If you're a governor, I don't, you know, once again, I think the same answer as a mayor. And it would be interesting to have a mayor in New York that definitely isn't getting APAC money.
Awkward.
But Iran and some other countries have their own APAC equivalents. Like APAC's not the only foreign national PAC that exists. They're just by far the most successful out of all the different nationality ones. But I think Republicans are playing this all wrong. You listen to him talk. He is a nice guy. He's a funny guy. He's quick-witted. He believes, right or wrong, he believes in his policy. He's not phony, you know. I think he is wrong with his prescriptions for a number of things, but he believes them. Like Bernie. You go, and maybe AOC. I don't know about AOC. I don't think she knows enough. But Bernie, yeah, he believes it. And because of that, I find him to be an honest man. I don't want him to get his way, but I also think there'll be less corruption with Bernie in charge of something until they give him his vacation homes and stuff. His corruption seems to be in the run your mouth enough for people to pay you to go away. And I don't know. I'm down for people. If people want to pay me to go away, I run my mouth a lot, you know. I could use a vacation house in Vermont. Just saying. I could use a couple vacation homes. So anyway, so New York's playing it like Mamdani, the commie. The commie Muslim terrorist. Some Republicans they call him a terrorist, or they say there's going to be another 9/11, and basically call him a, Al Qaeda sympathizer in so many words. And so he put out some video where he put out like an 8-minute video talking about Islamophobia and all that kind of stuff. And I think it came off as sincere. He mentioned his aunt feeling unsafe on the subway. And somebody did a deep dive, like, your aunt lived in Tasmania or Tanzania or something like that. And so he was like, well, it's my dad's cousin. I call her my aunt. She's technically my first cousin once removed. And when you hear that kind of stuff, you go, I mean, my uncle Frank is my first cousin once removed, but when you're a kid and it's somebody your parents' age, that's a family member that's sort of nebulous. It's like, those are my cousins. Those are my cousins' parents. Must be my aunt and uncle. It's fine. But anyway, so they're trying to nitpick things like that. And I'm sure he's a politician, Is he going to use hyperbole and kind of add some razzle-dazzle to stories? Yeah, he's going to do that. But I don't think any of these guys are innocent of such things. So every time these people go out, you call them a commie, fine. That word's lost all meaning anyway. But you call him a terrorist. You make this whole thing. Suddenly, him going, they don't hate my ideas. They don't like me because I'm brown. They don't like me because I'm a Muslim. And it's hard to go, that's not true, when they're like, get the brownie Muslim. And you go, like Randy Fine, the idiot from Florida. This guy, he took Matt Gaetz' seat. He's this blowhard whale. So he's got a blowhole, and he's a blowhard. But he's just sort of a jerk. And he's trying to make his name, I think, as a firebrand, just throwing bombs, verbal bombs, to try and be that guy. I don't know. I think he thinks it'll get him somewhere. Maybe just Fox News money. I don't know. But he's been doing some of this stuff. We're coming out and going, we should deport him. All right. So he's a citizen. Like he's a citizen. They go, well, we should revoke his citizenship. You have someone else go, well, we should revoke his citizenship because clearly his entire intention of being here is to undermine the entire American system of government, and therefore he lied on his application papers, and therefore we should strip him of his citizenship and deport him. And you go, hey guys, Donald Trump's the president. And he's running a controversial ICE program right now where they're trying to deport a lot of people. The optics already have not been great. We've talked about how, our local sheriff, how he talks about how he doesn't think that's necessarily the problem overall with ICE. It's because ICE can't just get people from the prisons and the jails. They're not allowed to. If you're in jail, you're safe from ICE, apparently. And so they're going into Home Depot and stuff because they go, well, we're going to get them. The president goes, well, we're not turning away just because it's, we're butting heads, Illinois. Therefore, we're going to stay here, Los Angeles. So it's like, hey, you got this program where people are coming out and going, hey, they're arresting babies and mothers, and people are crying. It's this horrible, these masked intruders are storming in the middle of the night, handcuffing children, and you go well, those stories aren't true. And for the most part, those stories aren't true. It's a lot of, just BS. It's a lot of propaganda. But it makes it harder to be like, that's not true. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't stand for such things. If you're going, let's see if we can figure out a loophole at the level of federal government, at the level of congressperson. Let me figure out if I can target an individual citizen, undo their citizenship because of differences in political opinion, and throw them to Africa. That's crazy. You look like a nut, and you make the entire GOP, the entire deportation plan, look just as crazy. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're raising Mamdani's stature every time because you go, oh, y'all are just picking on him because he's brown. And you sound like you're picking on him because he's brown. And he's going to win. And then he's going to go, okay. And he's going to do what he does. Success, fail, whatever, Hochul might win re-election. She's actually That Elisa Stefanik, who did she get moved to the UN? Can't remember. She was one of these cats that, like, when Trump got in, he was like, she'll be my ambassador to the UN. And I don't know if she got withdrawn or not, but she was a senator or I don't know, so a congresswoman out of New York. I don't remember if she's senator or house, but she's, hasn't announced she's running yet, but she's clearly running for governor. And right now she's polling even with Hochul. It's Stefanik. But yeah, right now they're polling even. So you go, huh? And so obviously, if Mamdani wins and does poorly, is that what she looks like?
Is that her?
That is. She has lots of different looks.
Her is.
Yeah, let's see.
Why did I just do the developer thing again?
Yeah, the Pedia. Yeah. I just checked out Grokkapedia today for the first time.
It's nice.
Yeah, it needs some polish to be as good. U.S. House of Representatives. Okay, so she was a Congress lady. She looks different in every photo. Like when you just did the search or something, you're like, oh, look at that. And then you go, oh, look at that. Yeah, and it's just all over the place. Look at that. Look at those 3 photos. I guess 2 of them kind of look the same. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So she might be the next governor of New York, according to polls as of right now. And if Mamdani kind of poos the bed and things take a nasty turn in the city, people are going to probably not be too happy with Hochul, who's endorsed him. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think the Republican plan for the midterms is that all Democrats are Mamdani. All Democrats are AOC, Bernie, Mamdani, but specifically Mamdani. And it's clearly to do this scary look out for the terrorist. Look out for the Muslim terrorist. The commie Muslim terrorist. And so like that seems to be what they're going to attempt to do with this. And I just think it's foolish. Right now, numbers are trending in the favor of the Republican Party with all this shutdown stuff. I don't know how it'll continue to be. But the Democrats are already doing a bad enough job. If you're the Republicans, what you shouldn't do is suddenly get up there and just be like, oogie boogie brownie, oogie boogie. Like, that is not how to win over voters and, like, to appeal to the independent vote and all that. So I don't know. It's now that I've actually taken the time to, like, listen to them and, see a slice of them. Obviously, there's, like I said, he is huge government. I think to be successful, to turn New York into something successful, people should follow things that Milei has done, because Argentina was basically like this big centrally planned failure of a state. Inflation was horrible. Housing was horrible. Everything was not great. Beautiful, but not great. So obviously I think his prescriptions are a little wrong, but I think Cuomo's prescriptions are both of them are very wrong. So it's like, they're both wrong. I don't even know what Curtis Silva wants to do. Like, who cares? Like, I just don't know, and I don't care. He's not going to win. I haven't thought about him at all. I like his hat. I mean, not for me. But if I was an artiste and I wanted to paint, I would wear his hat. I don't know. You got anything on Mamdani?
The one thing that I was thinking about the whole time is, what if Mamdani was Jewish? Wouldn't he receive the same flack?
For being Jewish. You mean just from a different direction?
Yeah, because honestly, like, it's kind of the extremes right now, whether you're a Jew or a Muslim.
I guess that's true, especially in a city like New York, where they've had lots of, like, pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protests. Let's think. Bloomberg. There was a Jewish mayor. But Bloomberg was already kind of famous, and he was already a billionaire and all that. And it was also a different climate. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just the current climate.
Yeah, the current climate is a tough one. And it's one of those things where it's like, so you have on the left you have the almost pro-Hamas level of enthusiasm. Not that everybody that's supporting Palestinians are that level. There's a lot of people that just are in opposition to, especially these attacks, watching all the dead babies on TV and all that kind of stuff, or on your phone. But you do have a flavor that's fairly prominent, that is so anti-Israel that it really is anti-Jew, and to the point where, like, I mean, Josh Shapiro should have been the nominee for the Democrats in this past election, not Kamala Harris. Not that people got a vote in it, but he was a governor of a purple state who was very popular. He speaks with authority, so he doesn't come off as weak or bumbling. He's sharp. He has a future, but it might be something in his party right now where simply by being Jewish, he might just have to cool his jets for I don't know how many election cycles. I don't even know if it'd be worth running in the primary this next time around, to be honest. I mean, he should probably try, but it could be something where it gets ugly. They'll try to pin everything Israel on him, and really, I'm sure he's got AIPAC money, and they'll look at all that kind of stuff and probably really harp on it. But yeah, I think you're right. It might be something similar in this. In today's day. Oh, and the other side of it on the Bloomberg thing. So the left has that. On the right, you have the Israel loyalists within Republicans. You have the Israel loyalists. You have younger people who are going like, let's not be involved with Israel at all. Like, any of the foreign countries, let's just not be involved at all. And then we do have that flavor of people that are so opposed to, and Israel has done some nasty things to America in the name of manipulating us. It's been well recorded. Even the stuff that doesn't involve, potential, not even potential things. They potentially were involved here. They shot at our ships. Even after they knew they were our ships, to try and get us involved in a war over there. Anyway, we don't have to go through all the things. But there's some people that are so fed up with that they've gone, I would say, more anti-Jewish than just anti-Israeli government, anti-U.S. involvement in a foreign country. I think a lot of people cry wolf about the extent of it. I don't know that I think Tucker Carlson is anti-Jewish. He gets painted like that pretty hard. Same with Dave Smith. Now you get somebody like Nick Fuentes, the seemingly homosexual Hispanic Nazi, and seemingly
quite the character.
Yeah. It'd be great if instead of doing like a little, one of his mustache, he did like a pencil thin, That's like the new Hitler would be a little pencil thin mustache. Which I maintain after that one graphic Chance made at one time, I can pull it off. I can do the little Hitler thing.
A lot of people. It's not a bad, it's just, it's tainted.
Kind of looks like that. Michael Jordan pulled it off for years. No one said anything because he's the greatest. Yeah, I think a lot of people cry wolf about being quick to if you're in opposition to what Israel does, they're really quick to color you anti-Semitic, especially if the more vocal you are about it. But in that, I do think there are some characters that have been bubbling to the top that do cross over. That guy that also has a good mustache, Ian Carroll, I think his name is. He got big on TikTok for doing conspiracy theory type stuff. But he'd be like, "Oh, look at this," and I don't know. He kind of got famous for doing this thing, and he's found some fun stuff. And he's an entertaining guy. But it does seem that when he was invited on Rogan, and he just kind of talked about conspiracies and whatever, and pointing to things that Israel probably involved in and all that. And you go, yeah, okay, good. But sometimes he talks to other people, and you go, yeah, he might actually not like any Jewish person. So I don't know that to be true. I don't know the guy, but him and some other characters who are bubbling up in prominence. I might be holding back some fairly anti-Semitic thoughts. So that's on the right too, is what I'm saying. So yeah, it might be hard if you're Bloomberg or any sort of Jewish fellow as a mayor in Manhattan to ramble through that answer. Speaking of rambling through an answer, one last thing on this. It's on Flagrant. They were talking about the last debate, and Cuomo got asked the question, would you rather go to a Knicks game or a Mets game? Right? New York City mayor, and I'm sure things matter, but I don't know. I imagine you would probably say Mets. Now that you're a new Mets fan, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
I'd probably say Knicks. Maybe I'd say Mets. I don't know. I guess a time of year who they're playing, but you know, just say whatever. You're a politician. You go, just make up a reason. I see the Mets. I love baseball. It's America's pastime. Sit outside, grab a hot dog, sit with my son. You know, Knicks. Oh, I love the fast pace New York team. Like, you know, I just remember John Starks and that whole crew and the way they used to compete with the Chicago Bulls and give Jordan a run for his money. I just been a Knick ever since. You know, whatever. Cuomo said, I'd like to do both. And apparently that was Mamdani's reaction on the stage. He just went, "Gah!" It's like, this guy.
Yeah, why is it so hard for people to answer questions?
When you don't believe in anything, everything's a calculus. They were like, how would this be best for polling? How would this be best for polling? Like, he should go, neither. I don't watch sports. Or whichever one gives me the best free seats. Yeah, he should go.
That's a great one.
You know, it's like, I'd probably pick the Mets. They got good luxury boxes. I gotta open the window or close it. I don't know. Fresh air if I want it. Whatever. Who slides me the biggest briefcase of cash? That's the one I'm going to. I'll throw out the first pitch at the basketball game. However it works. Yeah. So like I said, Cuomo being the great hope of New York City is just so laughable. Okay. I ended up ranting on that longer than I thought. Some things have been going on, of course. Jamaica got hit hard with Hurricane Melissa. It was gnarly. Some of the big problems were they got like 42 inches of rain, especially up in the mountains, which in North Carolina, when Helene went through, it was the rain that caused all the mudslides and all that. They, of course, had Category 5 winds, 185 miles an hour. The only thing positive, like if you're going to be hit by a Category 5 storm in Jamaica with all the rain, that is slow moving and beat you up for a while. Coming in on the west side was at least better than coming down the middle. I mean, it's something. It's not much, but 75 or 77% of the country has no power. Leading up to it, the guy in charge of energy or something like that in Jamaica was asked about restoring power, and he said, you know, we've spent the money to have plenty of gear and fuel. It has been stolen entirely. It always gets stolen. And he basically said, you know how, like, after these storms, like, y'all like to loot? Please don't loot from us or we'll never get back online. He basically said that. It was just like, it's all been stolen. It's going to be tough. If you keep stealing it after the storm hits, we'll never have power again. Just please stop. So, you know, 77% down. Their airports aren't running, like even Kingston. I have not seen a lot of deaths reported so far. Like ABC, as of yesterday, said none. I think somewhere said like 3. I mean, but they're still, I don't know that search efforts are going well. You know, there's a lot of flooding that needs to seep out. I don't know if we talked about this, but their drainage systems, like they're like just ditches and stuff like that, storm water, they've not been maintained, so they're filled with garbage. They have trees growing out of them. They basically are just not good for moving water, which is not great when you're an island that's about to get 42 inches of rain. They've got, you know, a lot. Have you been to Jamaica?
Yeah.
And so, you know, like a lot of it, there's abject poverty. You might have cinder block structures, but you got like corrugated metal roofs, you know, so those are gone. And the cops basically said, like, "No, we're out of commission. Like, we can't get our cars around. It's so it's going to be a while. I don't know. Some charities are getting ready to go in and do what they can do, but it's a mess, man. Like, I feel bad for the people. They need fresh water. They don't have fresh water, of course. Once again, not great when you're on an island. Though I know there's some springs in the mountains and all that. So hopefully they can figure out something while Red Cross and Mercury One and whoever the hell comes in and does their thing. I don't know. Is there anything you want to do on Jamaica? It was, the lady who was watching it. She always watches every hurricane, and it was just one of those where it just kept getting worse. And then bounced over to Cuba afterwards, which similarly does not have great infrastructure. So there's, buildings turned into twisted metal. Like, it's, I don't know. I guess Jamaica was recovering from a storm from last year or something. It said there was a Cat 5 that hit them.
Probably.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, they're in the highway, basically.
That was the one thing where, like, in my attempts for optimism is just like, it's not, they get hit by a lot of tropical storms and all that. I was hoping they weren't, like, taking it for granted, but it was like this is not their first rodeo. Even the folks that are, poor with not a lot of possessions, not a great place to live. It's not their first rodeo. They're probably aware of places to go and places to hunker down. And so far, until, I don't know, I think it'll be a while before you have any semblance of an actual death count, but that's the only thing that will keep it low, I guess. There's one other thing on that. I don't know. Maybe that was it. That's it, I guess. Not good. Oh, there were some Americans that, like, there's some Americans that were over near, like, Montego Bay that were like, well, COVID ruined our whatever anniversary. Melissa's not going to ruin this anniversary. We're going to dance in the puddles and play in the rain. And after storm passes, help however we can. From Indiana. You go, okay. And so they didn't even try to leave. Some people got stuck because tickets were thousands of dollars to get out. And they go, I can't pay thousands of dollars to get out. And then some people just couldn't find a flight even for thousands of dollars. So there were a fair number of tourists down there that also are hopefully fine and trapped. And now they're complaining because they go, the hotels want to charge us to stay here. And we go, well, you are staying in a hotel. That's how hotels work. And, like, most of them are all-inclusive, too. So, like, you're eating their food and drinking their water. Like, probably should pay for that. I'm not saying they should gouge them, but it's like, hey, you're like, we have to pay staff to be here because you're here, and we have to feed you, and we have to pay staff to cook that food for you. It's not free. None of this is free. Hopefully at some point, some charity comes in and they foot the bill, and then, hey, we're all in it together, but we got to do something here. And I don't know if they'll throw them out. I don't know how that works. And hopefully you got travel insurance or something to cover some of this. Anyway, feel bad for Jamaica. Donate to a charity. Help these people out. It's rough. I don't know. And like when we were there, we traveled through, and so my sister was with us, and so she's used to looking at power lines and things like that, and so it was just like, that's a disaster, that's a disaster, that's a disaster waiting to happen, just like the whole thing. She's like, oh, this place. She's like, I'm shocked the power stays on. So, I mean, it's no wonder that. So that's 70 in Florida when we get hit, and you have like Pinellas County with 80% of people without power or something like that after one of these storms, Milton or whatever. I think within 4 days they were up to having 90% restored, 96% restored within 4 days. Which, for everybody that likes to complain about the power company, that's fast. That's fast to go from no one's got power to pretty much everyone's got power after a storm. You know, this is not going to be like that. This is going to be much longer.
Yeah, we were only out for 8 hours. I was like, dang.
Yeah, we were out for longer than that. We had a few days. I forget what. But, you know, the nice thing a lot of times with the hurricanes is they bring a cold front behind them, and which is nice. But so we ran fans outside. It's not it's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's, you know, prefer to have power. Once you have to get back to work, too, that's when you go, a shower would be nice. But cold showers you get used to, too. All right, okay, this will be a fun one. Let me see if this is where I want to go to. I think this is. Yeah, other than that, yeah, maybe we'll hit that for a second. Okay, so Trump has a pretty funny take. Let me see. Let's see what we got.
I forgot about this.
We'll just read it through. We'll just do it the way the Blaze wants us to do it. All right. Okay, so headline, Blaze Media. Trump declares victory on climate change hoax after Bill Gates issues concession memo. Wow. President Donald Trump said opponents of the climate change hoax had won the struggle after Bill Gates said supporters should pivot their efforts. Gates has been a longtime proponent of policies to fight climate change, but on Monday he took a far more moderate tone that accepted the survivability of slightly higher global temperatures. What? Like in summertime? So Trump said on Truth, we just won the war on climate change hoax. Bill Gates has finally admitted that he was completely wrong on the issue. It took courage to do so, and for that, we're all grateful. MAGA! With all the exclamation points, capital letters, I don't know. How do you say MAGA? All right, so Gates issued the announcement in a memo titled 3 Tough Truths About Climate. He described the previous view on climate change as the following. In a few decades, cataclysmic climate change will decimate civilization. The evidence is all around us. Just look at the heat waves and storms caused by rising global temperatures. Nothing matters more than limiting the rise in temperature. He added, fortunately for all of us, this view is wrong. Gates opined that government may have to invest in cooling centers and better early warning systems, that's stupid, for extreme heats and weather events that people will be able to live and thrive in most places of the earth for the foreseeable future. More people die from cold than heat. Much more. Plants grow better in heat than cold. Okay, Gates went on to say that the world's efforts are better spent trying to reduce poverty and disease. Accurate. The doomsday outlook is causing much of the climate community to focus too much on near-term emission goals, and it's diverting resources from the most effective things we should be doing to improve life in a warming world. The billionaire concluded the biggest problems are poverty and disease, just as they always have been. What you think?
That's not Bill Gates. That's a phony Bill Gates. That's a yes. No.
You think it's a different pregnant man?
That's not Bill Gates. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, well then let me see if this changes your mind. So Microsoft just bought a 27% stake in OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. They don't have intellectual property rights until AGI, artificial general intelligence, is developed. So it says once AGI is declared, whatever. So they got to check it out, make sure it's right. No, I don't care about all this. But so OpenAI, so they paid a butt ton of money. Oh, here it is. And OpenAI, so where does it say there? They paid like 100 and something billion for the 27% share. But then OpenAI is contracted to purchase an incremental $250 billion of Azure. How do you pronounce that? Do you know?
Azure?
I don't know. Yeah, Azure services. And Microsoft will no longer have the right of first refusal to be OpenAI. Microsoft will no longer have a right of first refusal to be OpenAI's compute provider. Okay, so they don't have to use their services for compute, probably because Microsoft wants to not be stuck with that. OpenAI can now provide API access to U.S. government and national security customers regardless of the cloud provider. All right, so what does this mean? So Microsoft just took a 27%, was that right? Is that what I said? 27% share in OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, of course. Yeah, $135 billion stake. in exchange for $250 billion in sales that they contracted. That's a hell of a deal.
That is a great deal.
Yeah. They go, yeah, all right. But yeah, so basically they don't have much say in anything until AGI. And suddenly that is when Microsoft does have a say. When it is like fully alive, Microsoft goes, okay, now we have a claim. You know, it's our property, or 27% our property. So, what what do you need?
Cooling.
You need power. Yeah. And like, how are you going to sit there and go, you know, Bill Gates still owns a couple of shares of Microsoft, even though he's not necessarily the chief there. What is his role? Is he probably just a board chair?
I think he's
or something?
bored, yeah.
But yeah, so he needs power. He needs lots of power. And all these AI companies have been like trying to figure out how to bring nuclear power plants back online. They're buying property near power plants or transformer stations, or what the hell those things are called, those substations. So, you know, they're all vying to get as much power as possible. Already they're using up so much power that Ireland and Sweden, I think, a few different countries have said no more building server farms here. It's just putting too much strain on our energy, and we'd have to build new power plants. And in the EU, where they got all their net zero stuff, where they go, oh, you can't have any pollution. You know, you can't do that. Like, how you can build a power plant? And so Trump has been talking about lifting the restrictions to make it easier to build nuclear power and gas power and all the power. You know, he's big into the energy, which is going to be desperately required for AI and Bitcoin and all the things. Yes.
Bill Gates owns a ton of land.
Well, that's interesting. He does own a ton of land.
I mean, a lot of it's farmland, but
for now,
you can turn farmland into whatever you want.
That's true. That's true. He might lease back some land. He'll probably, this is the other part of it, because you're right, they also need cooling, because that is one of the big challenges. People have looked into doing like in the Arctic waters, and even maybe using tide energy along with it. But, basically building these things where it is cold, and that way you go, all right.
Microsoft did. Microsoft tested an underwater data center.
It was
a capsule, just a giant capsule.
There you go. Yeah. And so I wouldn't be shocked if OpenAI or Microsoft or somebody diverted a river through a server farm to cool it off, which, of course, would be disastrous for anybody that does actually care about the environment.
Please don't do that.
Yes. And please don't do that thing where you try to block out the sun like Mr. Burns. I still am opposed to that. What was it, calcium carbonate or something you want to throw up there? Maybe silica. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, don't block out the sun, and don't eat the rivers, and don't fill up the cows with vaccines that we then eat as a way to trick us into getting back. He needs to stop doing all the things, Charlie.
Well, you saw what he mentioned. He's like, we need to focus on disease.
Disease, yep. He sure did. He sure did, Charlie. And just in case, so, OpenAI has been a nonprofit for a while. That's when Elon helped start it up. Sam Altman and all these cats. It was this it's nonprofit. It's for the greater good. We want to work together so that no one company controls it and all that stuff, which is good. So they've spun off a chunk into a for-profit company, and the Wall Street Journal reports that they're going to probably do an IPO as early as 2027. And I don't have it in here, but what do you think the valuation they're thinking is? Just pick a number.
Of the spinoff?
Of the IPO, yeah, when they do the IPO with the for-profit side of it, which I think a portion of the for-profit will be owned by the nonprofit or the other way around, I forget.
$500 billion? I don't know.
1.3 trillion. or maybe it was 1.7 trillion, but it was over $1 trillion is the valuation of the estimated valuation of this IPO, which Microsoft, of course, 27%. Wow. Which then Bill Gates is whatever out of that. So you go, well, yeah, you need those power plants, don't you? My whole thing is, why did Bill Gates get into the climate stuff? Okay, yeah, some of it is being in the in crowd. Some of it's that. I do want to help the earth. Okay, sure. Who doesn't? I do like a clean environment. Sure. But to this degree, to the degree at which he's done things, it's power. It was the problem with climate change was the solution was always communism. The solution was always a giant government controlling what you did. And that was always the solution. Make it like it's getting too hot. The storms, no matter what, it was government control over everything. It was always the same solution. Communism, big centralized power, whatever, whether it's communism, fascism, or whatever. And Gates was in there trying to get a little taste of that. He's at the UN as a special speaker there. I'm sure the World Economic Forum has it. I don't know, but I'm sure he's been there. So he's hanging out with all the elites of the elites, the puppet masters that are rich enough to not even technically need a nation state. They are one of their own. But to have that level of influence and power, like the environment was the way in. World Economic Forum, the climate was a big part of it. UN, it's always a big part of it. And then, on the left side of the aisle in American politics, climate, you got to say the words, it's a religion. You got to say the words the right way. Otherwise, they throw you out of the church. It was power. It was power and control. And now, sure, that's fine. But could you get more power and control from a bunch of cows with vaccines or mosquito swarms or regulation or through an electronic god? It's one of those things where it's like, we don't need this anymore. We've got this on the horizon. And, what if Elon beats us to it? Then maybe he'll be more powerful than me. But I think this whole thing is about shifting gears to the tool, to the path that provides the greatest opportunity for control and to subjugate others. I think he likes that.
I agree.
Yeah. And so I think I wouldn't be shocked if he abandoned, he said the disease thing. He's probably going to keep going with that cow thing. God knows there's just no way any human goes, I care so much about the hepatitis vaccine or mumps vaccine that I need to engineer cattle so that a delicious New York strip delivers you a dose of a vaccine. And is it a small amount and you just keep adding it up slowly? Or do you only get that cow one time? I don't know how you execute this without just, sterilizing everybody.
You said it.
Well, yeah, eugenics, that's always been a big thing on the left. And
well, that adds to the whole power and control. The less people there are, the easier it is.
Especially if you have control over who gets to make more people. That's, because that was always the thing with eugenics, whether you talk about Planned Parenthood, and the eugenics movement of the United States in the early 1900s, or the people that they inspired. It was this little country in Europe, fellow with a mustache. But no matter what, a big part of it was building a master race. In America, they were friendlier about building a master race, and they would just, sterilize lesser people, was the plan. That was the thought, is if you took the imbeciles and what do they say? It was the imbeciles and I don't know. But basically, not the cool people. You go, they're not cool. Let's sterilize them. Make sure they can't make more imbeciles. Make sure they can't make more of this. We go, oh yes, that would be society would be better overall. Oh yes, quite. And then the Nazis, they did it their way, which was a little more ham-fisted, I would say. Well, I guess not ham. You got to keep the pork separated there.
That's nice.
Thank you. But no, yeah. But that was all eugenics movement. It was all master race stuff, and it was all, I'm sure people kiss the ring if they really want to have a kid. Like, please let me have a kid. Don't make me eat that cow.
There was a Black Mirror episode where there was restriction on childbirth through an implantable device.
It's crazy how many times I'm talking about something that's happening in the world or seems to be happening in the world or where it might lead to. And the person I'm talking to goes, oh, that's a Black Mirror episode. I've never even seen the show. It happens all the time.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, it's already in place, but.
Yeah. Oh, man. I had some place I was going to hop to that eugenics reminded me of. Oh, I guess this is totally an aside. There is a book, there's a sci-fi series called The Three Body Problem. Mm-hmm. They turned it into a Netflix show.
Mm-hmm.
I never finished the show. I think we got... Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I started listening to the audiobook. And so I'm on the second book. And so essentially what's happening right now is on Earth, we are 400 years away from being invaded by a force that's greater than ours. And so humanity is dealing with it in lots of different ways. But there's a group of people, they've outlawed something called escapism. Spoilers, people. I'm not through the book all the way, but I don't know. But basically people that go, well, we need to figure out how to get off the planet. Either live in a space station or go to a different planet, but basically not be here when they show up. And they kind of determined that the problem with that is you have to choose who stays and who goes. And with that, it's an impossible chore. Is it just the rich and the powerful? Is it just do you do eugenics? Who's got the best genes? Do you go, well, we need one professor. We need, first mate, a movie star, scientist, the Gilligan's Island method, and which if you ended up with Ginger and Marianne, it's a good start. But anyway, so I was thinking about that though, in practicality and even in storytelling or whatever. But so, okay, imagine if for whatever reason Earth is in this situation where we have to escape the planet, meteor or something. And so Elon and a bunch of people will make these spacecrafts in a space station, and we go, it ain't gonna be everybody, right? Odds are it's gonna be rich and powerful people. And we'll go, oh, no. There might be some, if there's 100 ships, yeah, maybe 5 for the normies and then the rest for the rich and powerful. Well, CEOs, heads of state, they have a higher level of sociopathy than other people. They're not saying they're psychopaths, but in their personality scores, they have higher levels of being a sociopath than the average school teacher. And so, okay, so now all these people escape, right? And we have all these people that are a higher level of sociopath. And then we're floating around generations, interbreeding with each other, sociopath, just breeding with each other. And then fast forward however many 100 years, and now we're going to go conquer some planet, because we need a new place to live. And because we're a society that has become a totally just psychopathic thing. So suddenly we're the evil warlords that were always the bad guys in the sci-fi movie because of selective breeding.
That is interesting how that would transform.
Yeah, you'd start off as the victim. Say it was mean ass aliens that were attacking. We'd start off as the victim. We'd escape up, but within however many generations, suddenly we're going to be the mean guys going in, and it'll be a whole pattern. I don't know. That's kind of an aside, but talking about eugenics, of sort of, we'd build a master race of sociopaths.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that was the most important thing I've ever said in my life. You're welcome, people. Copyright, trademark, Frank. That's all mine. You can't make that into a story. If someone already made that into a story, They probably listened to this, went back in time. You owe me money. I'm suing you.
for the time travel.
Time travel was my idea too, I feel like. Copyright Frank. Yeah. I came up with it. You'll see in the future. What you got for the people?
So, on this day, October 30th, Grok Fact of the Day, legendary director Orson Welles aired a radio dramatization of H.G. Wells' The War of the World on CBS. What made it epic? It wasn't announced as fiction at first. Instead, it unfolded like real-time breaking news.
Yeah.
Martian cylinders crashing in New Jersey, poison gas, alien machines zapping people with heat rays.
I have heard that the story that we hear about how people are freaking out and stuff, that is greatly exaggerated, which is unfortunate. A lot of people either want, what the hell is this great? You know, some people got worried or whatever, but I don't know. I guess people didn't freak out as much as we've been told. Follow us, like and subscribe. You got the YouTubes, the Rumbles, the Spotify's. I always want to say Shopify, but it's Spotify. When I'm looking for Shopify, I want to say Spotify. Anyway, follow us, like, subscribe, hit alerts, tell your friends. Follow us on the Twitters, on the Instagrams. Tell people, because it helps our algorithm. You know, really over the last however many months, like, things have been sinking in from all you fine people sharing and following all that good stuff. The clips are helpful too. We're going to keep doing those, and we're going to do a load of Grok now too, but it's working. We're going to take over the world.